happen at this point, because these films are making a big impact, and it's coming at a time in history where there's renewed interest in the issues, going back to the 60s. I mean, in the 60s, you had very strong black leadership, and they all were murderers, essentially.
Yeah.
So, there's been a quiet period.
Yeah.
But now you've got, you've got Black Lives Matter. You've got, and we mentioned it before. Beyonce did the Black Power salute. I mean, I remember watching the 1968 Olympics when that was, the black glove fist. And now there seems to be a renewed push. One idea that's fascinating to me is this idea of reparations, slavery reparations.
Yeah.
And this is something that seems like I have my own thoughts about it. But where are you in that discussion? Where are you in this thinking in your mind on the reparations issue? What's your current thinking on that?
It should happen because it was the free African labor that created not only the wealth for the United States, but the wealth here in Britain as well. So it was that free African labor. If it wasn't for the free African labor, there would be no wealth in the Caribbean here, or really a lot of places.
When slavery was abolished here, all the people who had huge interest in slavery were given an enormous gift from the government.
Yeah,
that's how they created this huge generation of wealthy people.
Absolutely.
So why not in the U.S. Those who were participating in the slavery movement are owed reparations?
Absolutely, and even in places like Jamaica and the Caribbean, a lot of people are petitioning Britain to break off some of the reparations dollars as well. But that's part of white supremacy. It's all about maldistributing the resources, and that's how you can control people, by keeping them economically dependent. And that's an issue that we really need to rectify globally, because when you look at black people all around the world, here in Britain, I was in South Africa, all over the United States, you have people in the dominant society living on top, and you have black people basically all around the world living in concentration camps, because that's all they are, called the hood. And these places are white controlled and dominated by those in the dominant white society, and they are deprived of resources.
You talk about white supremacy, and I want to ask you if this would be an example of that dynamic in play.
Yes.
So here we had an election here in the UK recently in London for the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Sadiq Khan, who is Muslim,
okay,
leading up to this election, he was portrayed by the opposition as a terrorist, with very little to back that up, other than, I guess you would, in your playbook, he would be classified as melanated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm not melanated.
Right.
But all people of color are effectively melanated.
Yeah, I call him melanoid.
Melanoid.
Yeah.
So that was his crime. I mean, that's why, so he was painted as a terrorist, and they showed a picture of, he's now the mayor, by the way. He's sitting over there in City Hall. But at the time, leading up to the election, they had a big 7/7 bus bombing here where terrorists killed many people. They have his picture and the bus blowing up. They're like, is this what you want to run as mayor? That's white supremacist, isn't it?
Yeah, they did the same thing with Obama. They used to call him a terrorist. When he was running, they would have campaign people out there talking about he's a terrorist, and him and his wife are doing the terrorist fist bump when she gave him a fist bump. So that's that I'm white and I say so nonsense. And you know what's interesting? There were a lot of white mass shooters in the United States. There was one yesterday out in UCLA, out in Los Angeles, where I live. It was a guy who shot his professor because of his grades, and a day before that, there was another white gentleman down in Texas who shot up some people. But they never get labeled as terrorists, and it happens over and over again.
Right. If you're white, it's a
mental.
It's a false flag.
Oh yeah,
Black, you're a terrorist.
Right. Yeah, if you're white, it's Obama's trying to take our guns. It's that whole thing.
Right. It never happened. Those kids never died.
Exactly.
It's a plot to take our guns.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's black, you're a terrorist, and you got to go to jail and be in a prison industrial complex.
Yeah, exactly.
And make us a buck.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
So white supremacy. I mean, in the old days, in the slavery days of the South, I mean, it was pretty rudimentary and simple compared to the modern technology of slavery.
Yeah.
Essentially, the technology has grown, But so is the slavery technique.
And that's the thing. There's a battle between the white supremacists. You got the white supremacists who want to refine white supremacy, and then you have the white supremacists who just want the good old school white supremacy. Let's get the Negroes in their place. With the refined version of white supremacy, you have a lot of white sacrifices. So, for example, refined white supremacists when they poison Flint, Michigan. So you kill a lot of black people, but you kill a few white sacrifices. But they want that Donald Trump type of white supremacy.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Flint.
Yeah.
That this is like almost like genocide.
Yeah, it's not almost. It is genocide. They deliberately poison the people. Nobody's punished. And that lead poisoning thing, that's an old thing. They used to poison people with lead during the 1940s and 50s when they built the freeways up, because all that lead poisoning from the cars used to go up into those black areas. So the lead poisoning thing, that's an old one.
Yeah, it's known.
Oh yeah.
They saved a few bucks and they killed some folks.
Absolutely.
As Obama might say, we killed some folks. You're in the film, essentially in the film business. Quick question: are you going to do any feature films?
I am. I did one feature film. We did a horror film called The Eugenist, based on eugenics, the eugenics program, and we kind of made it into a zombie thing, and that's available on iTunes. It was the low budget thing we did in about a week. We're working on another one later on this year. It's about some kids running from the cops. It's kind of a crime drama, so we're going to be doing that. So I want to do some more epic things. I want to do something about the Moors, the African men who were in Europe and who dominated parts of Europe during the Middle Ages. That's something that I really want to do. So I am going to do that.
How have your skills as a filmmaker changed with these series of films? I know it's kind of a broad topic, but just from the point of view of the filmmaker, how has your evolution as a filmmaker been changing?
I think it's getting better. Because with the Hidden Colors series, I work with a great team. My DP, the guy who worked with me on Hidden Colors 4, he worked on the Mad Max film. So I get a lot of people.
What's the hardest part about making these films?
The hardest part is for documentary. Documentaries are way more harder than narrative films. With narrative films, you got actors, you film, cut, edit, and it's over. With documentaries, you have to film, edit, and then get all of the B-roll footage to put on top of it. So you got to do a lot of research. You got to have a lot of book references. You got to get a lot of old pictures. So that takes a year within itself. So documentaries are very difficult to do.
You're competing at the moment with a TV spectacular, the updating version of Roots.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Now I remember Roots as a kid.
Me too.
They're doing the retread of Roots.
Mm-hmm.
What's the response to this? What are your thoughts?
There's a lot of pushback for Roots now, because a lot of people, we've seen the same slave story over and over again. And the History Channel, they've never been a friend to African society, because when you look at the History Channel, they never show black people throughout history. They never show us in a positive light. With the History Channel, whenever they do show black people, they have shows like Gangland that have all these make-believe gangs that nobody never heard of, and they try to attribute that to black society. They have the Skittles gang, and talk about who heard of the Skittles gang? It's that type of thing. But and also when they show Egyptians, they always look like they're Mexican, so they never really show black people in a positive light. So now they have Roots, and there's a pushback with Roots because Roots only tells half of our history. It's a half truth. They never talk about what happened in Africa before slavery, and that's where the Hidden Colors films come in. We talk about Africans in Egypt and here in Europe, globally. So we fill in the blanks that Roots don't talk about.
In a recent interview, you said something where this comment comes up. The black community should move back to Africa. But the point is that, wait a minute, no, you can't, because they need you to be in the prison system.
Yeah, black people, and that's kind of an antagonistic pushback that a lot of white supremacists will say. They say, well, you don't like it over here, you just go back to Africa. Instead of just stopping white supremacy, we got to go somewhere. But Africa is, number one, it's already colonized.
Right.
Africa is completely controlled by the white supremacists. Also, with Africa, whenever African people wanted to go back, they stopped them, like with Marcus Garvey. That movement, they stopped that. They stopped that movement.
Right, so they were ready to go.
Yeah,
they're like, we're going.
No, you don't.
No, you can't go. So it's a freaking prison.
Yeah, even in Zbigniew Brzezinski in the 70s, he wrote a paper saying that we should not let Africans and African Americans link up. And they were very adamant about that. Even with Gaddafi, when Gaddafi wanted to help African Americans through Farrakhan, Gaddafi was going to give Minister Farrakhan $1 billion to help African Americans. Bill Clinton said, "Oh, no, you don't." So
talk about Clinton for a second.
Yeah,
he claims to be Clinton's impact on the black community?
It's devastating, and Unfortunately, in black society, we think just because a white supremacist is being nice, that they're cool. And Bill Clinton and Hillary, and I put them together, they devastated black society with the 3-strike laws, with the housing, with the welfare reform, and they still have that vitriolic view of black society.
So why does black community continue to vote for Hillary?
Because Hillary came out and did the latest dance, and unfortunately, we think because a white person is nice to us that they're okay. And that's a slave mentality that we need to shake as a global community. We don't understand white supremacy. We think white supremacy is just somebody being mean to us, saying, "Hey, why don't you get in your place, black people?" But sometimes white supremacy comes in the form of a smile. That's how the missionaries got the Africans. They came in smiling first, and that's something that a lot of black people, we're still not hip to that collectively.
We got less than a minute left, but I just want to touch on something. You know, you're in the film business, and so when this Django Unchained came out,
yes,
and it's like a revenge tale.
Mm-hmm.
The slave was killing white guys.
Yeah,
and the reaction in the white community was not good.
Yeah,
they were. They got a view into what, kind of looking on the other end of the telescope.
Yeah,
and they didn't like what they saw.
Yeah, but they were cool with it because, you know, in Django, here was the thing. The Django character, he was only killing insignificant white people. When you look at that film, the significant white people were either killed by the other guy or he was given permission to kill the significant white people. Like the Big Daddy character, that was a slave owner. The white character, his I can't think of his name, the Dr. King. Yeah, Dr. King. And get that, Dr. King. Dr. King, got that?
Schultz King?
Yeah, Schultz King. So the Dr. King told Django, yes, go ahead and shoot him. So he gave him permission. And at the end, the Calvin Candy character was killed by the white guy. It wasn't, he didn't get killed by
We got to cut it off there. Fascinating look into this thing.
Yes, indeed.
Tariq, thanks again for being on the Keiser Report.
My pleasure, anytime.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode.